Colonel, there's one major global power that we've not even mentioned in this conversation, and that's China. Do you think they are happy to just sit back and watch all of this happen and play out because ultimately everything going on now is in their interests? Or do you think they've got some other levers to pull or buttons to push here?
Well, if you look at the Chinese historically, and I mean this in all sincerity, the Chinese are largely disinterested in going to war. The Chinese are preeminently about business. I keep laughing every time somebody says, "Well, the Chinese Communist Party said the following." Come on, give me a break. There aren't any communists in China. These people are the biggest capitalists in the history of mankind. The Chinese are not interested in a war at all. Their great fear is that the oil and natural gas and other things are going to be cut off from the Persian Gulf. We've already seen what's happened to the Suez Canal because we're unable to maintain that. What happens when the Straits of Hormuz are closed? They're not interested in a war at all. They would very much like to see peace. They actually worked very hard to broker agreements between Iran and Saudi Arabia and others because they have an interest in building this Belt and Road system. And part of that, of course, is with Russia. It goes from the Indian Ocean on the coast of southern Iran up through the Caucasus, through Azerbaijan and Armenia and down into Russia, that could conceivably avoid the transport of anything through the Suez. Remember, we built the Suez to avoid rounding the Cape of Africa. Now we're talking about a Belt and Road system that could avoid using the Persian Gulf and the Suez Canal completely. And the Saudis are now invested in this as well. They've been brought on board. No, I think when you look at Moscow and Beijing, they're very focused on economic infrastructure and prosperity and building that. We're the ones that are relying overwhelmingly on military power to bully our way into what we think we want. And we regard their success in terms of economic prosperity as a threat to us. Now, my own view is that that's a dumb idea. We should be just as interested in economic prosperity as they are. But I don't see much evidence for that right now. So I think the Chinese would very much like this whole thing to go away. Now, what happens if it doesn't? Well, then I think they will engage, not militarily initially, but from behind, they'll try to support Iran, they'll support Russia, they'll support Turkey, they'll support all the various actors, and they'll also promise them aid and assistance in rebuilding whatever is destroyed as a result of the war. But the Chinese Navy, for all the attention showered on it, is really not in a position to operate that far from China and challenge us. About a third of the Chinese Navy, some people would say even larger, amounts to a Coast Guard. So I think the answer to your question is the Chinese don't want any of this to happen, but they will back everybody else who's in it against us and against Israel.
Because if the Chinese keep business as usual and you project out 20, 30, 40, 50 years, their GDP starts to become multiples of the United States. So for them, business as usual has just huge ramifications for them, and they would prefer that.
Well, you have historians undoubtedly in your audience, and anybody who's studied world history knows that for most of the last certainly 2,000 years, some people would say for the last 3,000, China has been the richest country in the world. That's why everybody invaded it. That's why the Mongols, the Manchus, the Huns, Uyghurs, all these people have invaded China to steal what they could not produce. So I don't understand why people are so shocked by the reality that China, once again, for reasons of population, and positioning in the world geographically, are poised to be the richest country in the world again. I don't see that as a danger to us. I just think it's something that we could work with. But again, this is not a popular view in Washington. They look at what you've described and they see this as inherently dangerous. Now, the interesting thing is that China's number one trading partner right now is Germany. And the Germans have to climb out of this terrible, terrible chasm that they've dug for themselves in this stupid war in Ukraine. How are they going to get out of it? I think the Chinese are going to play a role in that. Ultimately, once they get rid of this government, they're going to restore relations with Russia. They have an interest in doing so. That's going to be a game changer in Europe. And we're all going to stand around and say, well, this is the worst thing that could happen. The Russians and the Germans. Well, you should have thought about that before you engaged in this stupid policy, you know. But that's where we are. People are foolish, and they'll blame everything on everyone but ourselves.
Hey, I know investing in crypto is scary. It takes a real leap of faith because there are so many scams, rug pulls, and bad actors out there. It's a dangerous business, which is why 95% of people lose all their money. Well, that's why I created the London Real Investment Club, so you can access the hottest deals on the planet and use the crypto bull market to create the generational wealth that you deserve. Join my team of over 100 people from around the world that are making millions of dollars behind the scenes investing in blockchain, AI, Web3 games, DeFi, Bitcoin, and more. Don't miss out. Click the link below to book a call with one of my team now. But hurry, this bull market will end soon.
I know investing in crypto can be scary. That's why you gotta join the investment club. Pull the trigger. Let's do this.